Hello and welcome to the Pro Detailer Magazine podcast. Today we have a very, very special guest on board. Not you, Ian.
Oh, all right, fine.
I am delighted to welcome Mr. Jim White onto the PDM podcast.
Good morning. Hello.
And we have got all sorts of exciting things. Just in case you've been living in the cave, Jim White, White Details, is a YouTube sensation, but primarily, you know what, he's a detailer and a nice bloke. So we thought we'd just have a chat.
Thank you.
We have, in fact, got some sort of structure of what we're going to talk about too. And the first thing we wanted to hit on, because it's still probably relevant, just about, is Waxstock. So this year at Waxstock, Jim was in attendance. Now, we only bumped into each other a couple times. You were kind of followed by a kind of, I don't know what you call them.
Retinue,
a kind of a team of lovers,
entourage.
Followers.
Yes,
it's to keep the paps away.
Should we call it a harem?
Harem, yeah. 2019, I was on the ticket as one of the guests on stage, which following an early conversation we just had, that isn't me, that isn't my natural habitat.
No.
But this year, and it went well, but this year it was just to be there to support the industry, to show my face and to meet and greet and say hello, and it's ace. Most of the day I'm spent looking down at my forearms with the goosebumps from the stories I hear.
Yeah.
Because again, I was just saying that although you create content and you put a lot of time, love and effort into that, it just goes to the internet, and that's just numbers, names and digits.
But the people commenting, they're real people. It's not bots. I mean, we've confirmed it's not some sort of Russian bot attack on.
No, I deleted the bot a few years ago.
Yes.
There was a massive decline in subscribers, and it dropped 20k. But no, it's great, and I still have that because he dragged me up on stage unannounced. I wasn't. This current year.
Well, come on, we had a good 30 seconds of preparation the day before.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And
yeah.
then 60 seconds the morning of.
Yes. And most of that was, this is a microphone.
Yeah. I mean, at least he didn't use duct tape this time.
No.
Yeah.
No. That was
chafes after a while.
I got complaints about all the hair being removed when you rip it off. So no, I think we did. You were voluntarily on there.
Yeah, it was easier to do this year than the year before, and obviously Kelly Harris was part of that as well. But that it's weird because I get a bit nervous, and the fact I'm sat here now without my headphones on to hear my own feedback. I don't like that sort of artificial sound, and that's what I was getting on the stage as well. It's a bit off-putting. It can be a bit.
Yeah.
It's like when you're singing in the car and suddenly you accidentally hit the mute and you're really embarrassed
It's
yourself.
terrible. Yeah,
I can't reach the notes in Total Eclipse of the Heart anymore.
I don't edit with headphones for YouTube, and I wonder if I'd get it because I'm just with the desktop speakers, and I wonder if I'd have the same problem editing because I hate hearing my own voice back, but I have to for the videos.
It is relevant.
On stage with eyes and faces staring at you. But the conversation is no different to the conversation I have with the people on the shop floor, which is awesome stuff. But
there are fewer people on the shop floor, and you know where the weapons are hidden at strategical locations, so you kind of generally feel a bit safer.
Little safe spots.
Yeah.
No, it was a good day. Of course, next year coming up is the 10th year anniversary. Is it for Waxstock?
Last year's was the 8th this year. Well, they missed out too, and
look. So the first Waxstock was 26th of August 2012. I know that because it's when we launched PVD, and I've been to every Waxstock since. So in my maths, this year was the 10th year, but not the 10th show.
Yeah, because of the COVID.
But then next year isn't going to be the 10th show either. No. It's going to be the 9th show.
Yes.
Oh,
but they're calling it
unless they have two shows.
Well, isn't that part of the possible plan? 2 days.
2 days, yeah. Anyway, that's been voiced, yeah.
Okay.
But it's all scuttlebutt at the moment. There's no confirmation.
Scuttlebutt.
Indeed. It's a thing. Google it, guys. So yeah.
Don't Google scuttlebutt. don't do it.
I'm going to get in trouble with GCHQ again. I think Waxstock next year they're going to be doing something. I think this year is all about just coming back, getting it done, and saying, "Hey,
remembering where Coventry was."
Yeah.
Then trying desperately to forget where Coventry is.
You know what really annoys me?
Coventry.
Well,
No, it's
not
me.
specifically, but there's so every time the nav for the last years, I've always driven massive, great big vans, which frankly I quite enjoy driving massive, great big vans. It makes me feel more powerful than I actually am. Through the middle of Coventry with about 1 million roundabouts and lots of weird little industrially bits with like sleeping policemen, and we always overlaid the van by a good ton. So when we go over a sleeping policeman, it crashes on the bottom. Anyway, we stayed in a hotel this time that was a bit north of the actual Rico. And in the past, I've stayed there, but I've walked there, which is not fun because you have to walk through basically post-apocalyptic council estate sort of scary places with lots of scary-looking people. And that's coming from me, just to get to the hotel.
Scuttlebot.
God, you think anything semi-detached is post-apocalyptic?
Anyway, blow me down. Turns out that hotel we were at, the Holiday Inn or whatever, it's one roundabout from the motorway, and then you just take that motorway to the M5 and then down again, and it's so much more simpler than doing up the Foss Cross and then going through all of Coventry to get to the Rico.
Easy. It's not the Rico anymore.
No, the
Coventry.
the Alliance and Leicester Arena.
Something like that.
Oh, we're getting sued again. It's the Coventry Building Society
Same place.
Arena in Coventry.
The Rico.
Yeah. So it's the big round thing in Coventry, full of strange people. But no, it was a good show. I felt. Strange enough, I bailed entirely from the casino this year. Normally, the casino ends in a blur, kind of around 3 or 4 in the morning.
See, I bailed entirely from Waxstock by having a hangover from the casino the night before. I was there in body, but the mind was far, far away.
Yeah. Well, how did that happen? Well, I appreciate probably involved the free wine.
I honestly can't remember.
You
No, I was sitting downstairs with Rich and Jamie at the hotel until about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yes, I hung around for a bit.
Terrible idea.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No, I went to bed well before then. Jim, did you?
Oh no, you
have
buggered off and left me.
Well, I did, but you were very animated and talking away and
Talking
intensive.
to people, interacting. You could tell I'd had a drink.
Oh yeah, no, I really could, but you're quite dangerous in those circumstances. I just tend to back away. You seem perfectly happy. I mean, nobody else around you was. They were mostly backing away too, but you survived.
Yeah, so did everyone else. Anyway, move on.
Moving on. What was your? Because you've never done a Saturday night at Waxstock, have you?
2019 I did.
Oh, yeah, of course
I
you
was
did.
there for
Yeah.
the trade dinner back then, but this year it was just Sunday morning, travelled up.
Gotcha.
There was lots of sore-looking heads, and the podcast I've heard off the back of Waxstock reviews and updates, most of the talk is about the Saturday night antics. And
It is for some people. It is for some people. I think there are a lot. It's interesting. So one of the big people who no longer exhibit there for various reasons that we're not going to go into brings a big team of people. In the early days, that was pretty revelrous. But they then sort of
Half
took
of which
dinner.
couldn't actually drink, I'm pretty sure.
You're just too young.
Legally.
Part of parole conditions. So, yeah, I think to an extent it is the night, but I think most of us, I think as we get older, we decide it's probably not a good idea to go drinking until 3 or 4 in the morning
you
before
do
the
that,
biggest
don't you?
show in the year.
It's most of the catch-up, it's most of the fun, because the Sunday is the serious, it's the game face, it's the sales, it's the customer-facing stuff. So for the inner trade people to have a good...
A bit of an ease up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It is an interesting one. I don't feel like I missed out by not doing it, but then I was up and fresh at like 6 the following morning and
I'm
barely.
a bit of a lightweight myself, so it's probably the best thing that I turn up 10 a.m.
You're
the
a
following
lightweight,
day.
are you?
Yeah. What do you mean? There's nothing on me.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. But you're longer than average.
People say that when they meet me because they feel they know me off camera, and then the customers arrive, have not been there before.
Yeah.
The yard is a lot smaller than it seems. The unit's a lot smaller, but I'm a lot taller. They say I'm 6'2".
Is that fisheye lens you use?
It is, yeah. Things look, yeah. Anyway,
He works on Tinder anyway. And Waxstock next year, obviously, you'll be there.
I will. Yeah,
Cool.
I'll forever be. I used to go to Peterborough back in the day with my dad. Dad used to come along just to the Peterborough ones, and I've never exhibited or had a. Maybe that was the thing I could do in the future. Have a car.
Yeah,
I've prepped and speak to a customer who's the week before Waxstock. Perhaps have a vehicle there of some sort.
They can make Project W, Project Y.
There we go.
Yeah. Sponsored content.
that could work quite nicely. Yeah.
WD car care.
These are all ideas. Anyway, we're all looking at each other silently and just
John
forgetting.
Hull's just scribbling furious.
But in other developments, I want to talk about PPF because it's not something you've done before.
No,
But
no.
a little birdie told me that it is something you are quite seriously looking into.
I'm week after next. I am training for 3 days down south in Harlow. I've tried to avoid film for the last sort of 3 or 4 years, but I am 3 or 4 years behind, and I feel like very much I need to be there and get involved and have it as I do get asked. I do get quotations or inquiries for PPF, even as part of a new car prep.
Yeah.
If I haven't got the option to offer the film, that new car prep may go somewhere else. I've stuck to what I know. I do get frustrated trying to put a screen protector on an iPhone or an Android.
That's a different level of zen you need for that.
Yeah, but
I just don't drop my phone. I've never had a screen protector. I've never broken a phone. Whereas my partner
Humble
throws
brag.
phones. She throws phones. For her £1,000 iPhone or what the hell it is my phone's 5 years old and not worth anywhere like that. But she uses it as a weapon towards mostly me, and that's why she goes through phones so much. But yeah, anyway, sorry, we digress.
That's why you've got the phone-shaped dents in your head as well.
I can see it's very much its place. I'm somewhat nervous but excited by the next 12, 15 months or so. I do understand that people always say that what you have to remember is protection, not perfection. But what does that mean? Well, I'm not going to step back and allow a sub-average job to leave the premises, because I'm all about making sure I'm happy. If I'm happy, the customer's happy. So what does protection, not perfection mean? There are variables or things to watch out for with film, with contamination, the air, lints, and that it does happen. Speaking to some close friends in the industry, some people say, I won't like it. It will frustrate me because they know me, they know what I'm like. Mm-hmm. But equally, I'm looking for a new challenge. I'm excited by it to not so much get me off the tools, but 4 days, 5 days doing a 2-stage correction in coatings. It's lots of vibration, it's lots of dust, it's lots of machine polishing and noise. And what I'm able to charge for that is a morning or a day's work doing film.
So I'm always amazed that the price of PPF has not come down in the last 8 years or so.
I think it has come down, but it just hasn't come down that far. So it's still very profitable.
Years ago, the Challenge Stradale 360 PPF'd, and I think the entire car was around about 7.5, 8 grand to do. Mm-hmm. That's easily what you'd be looking to pay now. And
we've got 10% inflation though.
I still think it's much like detailing. Someone could claim to do a full correction and coatings and wheels for 700 quid in 2 days, and that to me sounds like it's not going to be the best job. But that's a PPF full car. That's what I'd expect to be 7, 8, 9 grand plus the VAT. I've just prepped an Ibis White R8 Spider, and my customer didn't tell me at the time. Really, it was very late in the inquiry process, like the week before I took the car on, that hey, don't go with the coatings. I don't want Modesto coatings this time because it's going to leave you on the Thursday straight for PPF full body. I'm quite curious, and at this point I know I'm going to be doing PPF soon. I can't help just yet asking the questions. Full car coverage, he didn't know the brand of film, but full car coverage was costing him 2.5 grand. I know it's not the biggest car, and it hasn't got a roof.
Well,
but
I could do it at $2,499 if I'm allowed to use cling film.
Yes, yeah, but it turns out that was a company that he's used in the past for his commercial vans to do sign writing and wrapping. So if they've now got access to film and they're...
It's that stuff you used to put on your books in school, isn't
it? Yeah, so there's possibly better places and the worse places, but at least the Audi had the best possible prep, and that's another part of it. What amount of prep do people insist it has to have, and what a lot of it is missed. A lot of my social media at the time of doing the Audi, I did a 2-stage correction. It's flat white. It was kind of somewhat difficult to work on, but looked super, super sharp and glossy at the point of finishing the correction. But what would a 2.5 grand PPF outfit have done in terms of prep before the film went on? Even in the panel gaps, it was orange with fallout and contaminants and finger polishing in them panel gaps. You have to do some of that.
That 2.5 grand might be based on a car that's been prepped already, but
it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
And I've said to the customer, look, you need to be getting that price down even more because they've got a lot less work to do if they were to do much in the first place.
And it's going to be just a down payment on then getting it replaced and fixed properly when it does go terribly wrong.
Yeah, and obviously being flat white PPF with the edges and the dirt, that's all stuff I've got to learn and to take on. And
so you're doing PPF partly because of profitability, but what's interesting is you're kind of almost pitching it like a lifestyle, as in you've got less vibration, it's a dust-free environment, it's nice and quiet, it's
peaceful. Once you get the skill to it, it can be quite an enjoyable practice.
It's funny you say that because a lot of people I've talked to who've been getting into it have said it's the most frustrating, angry thing ever.
Grades as it is now. So.
Yeah.
That's that 6 month learning curve at the end of the 6 months, well, however long it takes you. It's going to be frustrating. Any new
rip stuff up and throw it in the bin and sort of have to eat into my profits of the job. But equally, I've just picked up a new car, which we can talk about later, if not a new car after that, which I can practice on, and got friends and family's cars where I just need to do practice. I just need to lay film, whatever it may be, and sort of get used to it.
Well, I think it's also a character thing, because I think are you obviously, as always, mate, you're very, very chilled out to the point where sometimes I think I actually send you to
Come
sleep.
on, Jim, wake up.
No, well, quite. But do you have a little temper tantrums, or are you fairly sort of settled? Because I think hotheads and PPF probably won't go so well.
Sure. I think with the hours and polishing and patience you need for correction, the patience is there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel too nervous about the film now. So I have been engulfed in YouTube, and not that it's different to actually hands-on, but I understand a lot of the challenges now.
Have you been watching on YouTube for that? Any major channels?
I've reached out to him, actually. Although I can't, Drive Protected in America.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Used to do a lot of footage, just POV, GoPro on his head.
Yeah, no,
and you just do a front bumper install.
Drive Protected sounds like some sort of STD or sort of sexual
I
health
don't think
safety
it's
channel.
so much a detailing channel. It is just he gets a car in, he does film. He's not doing much polishing and that sort of stuff in the first place. And then I think is it Presidential Detailing in America took on Matt Moorman from his obsessed garage. His GT3 RS.
No longer the poshest of the room.
I lost myself there. Yeah, they've done a few bits on, but it'll be something I have to put on camera myself.
Yeah.
So for the first, I'm known for doing the hopefully high end detailing in the.
Are we going to have a Jim White's cock-ups video of like...
I'm sure there'll be plenty of. Yeah.
I'm sure that would be massively popular just for the sake of people coming into the industry and seeing that
the realization
that it isn't, that it's supposed to be difficult. Everybody's going to struggle with it.
Yeah, and I think part of my channel, I don't want it to be too smoke and mirrors and glamorous, although it's nicely produced and there's music and people send me messages saying that it's inspired them to go on to do detailing themselves. Equally, I want it to be real. It is a hard graft, actually. It's tough on your body, it's tough on your mental state, and that whole 4 days polishing and PPF maybe do something similar. It might create its own challenges. In fact, it will. But it's just, I need to learn the process and where it slips into my already busy diary.
Yeah.
I think it will turn the tables somewhat. So maybe 70-30 of my diary will be more PPF instead of detailing. But yeah, there might be a time or a period where the camera lays low. Not that I'll have anything to hide, but I just want my focus to be getting good and getting right with the film. And of course, it's quite an investment to get going with the plotter and the.
Yeah, it's interesting. Probably about 4 or 5 years ago, it started. Lots of people taking up and investing in the kit, and I wouldn't say a fraction, but only a percentage of those actually are still doing it now. And there are companies out there obviously doing it mobile at detailers places, which has become quite popular. So you can get the quality of work and stuff without the investment. But at the same time, a guy who I know and work with quite nearby, he does it, and the figures he was talking about in terms of gross takings per month. I mean, put it this way: there's a lot of Subarus. A lot of Subarus could be bought if you're doing PPF. Yeah,
and the repairs.
No, I wouldn't go that far.
Okay. Can't afford the repairs.
You buy the car.
Were they a one-man band, or is that a team of
No,
workers?
team of 4. He's got 3 employees.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got 2 bays, specifically PPF, and then a couple bays correction stuff. But it's just that turnover. It's scary because if you've got the customers coming and everything's going well, that's great. But if you don't, you've got huge overheads. And so
Overheads.
Overheads. Yes, overheads.
Yeah.
And
Vacuum cleaner fans.
So yeah, no, it's an interesting development.
And is it something you'd look to sort of grow your business a bit more and take on a team, do you think?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe I think the film, an installer to do film, may be easier to get somebody in to do than take on the detailing side of things. Because I'm starting new with film myself. I found it difficult to get somebody to do the detailing because I like to be in control of the full job. Even when I had a chat with me for some time a couple of years ago, there were still aspects of the job that wouldn't be handed over to them. It was never a case of there's the key for the It won't be a Subaru. It'll be an AMG or a Porsche.
Would you just say?
But
When you get better, Jim, I'll bring you a Subaru.
I don't think I'll ever get to the stage where it's a conveyor belt of flow.
You're going to say I'll never get to the stage where I'll be doing Subarus.
But also, it's interesting because obviously you've got what we call brand capital, and other companies have got brand capital. I'm thinking things like Yanimais, for example, in the wrapping market. We've got people like Topaz and stuff like that. All these guys have got big brand capital, and NVM, another one. And they have huge teams. So actually, the chances of your car actually being wrapped by Yanni is minimal. But you'll still go and happy to pay the premium to have it done at that site. And you've actually avoided doing it. You could have capitalised it quite easily, I suspect, and had a whole team of sort of Jim White centres around the UK, and you could just flutter between them in a car. But you absolutely haven't gone down that route.
No, there's been many avenues I could have taken it. So the brand is high up on a sort of a pedestal. Just that's where people have put it. I don't know everything. There is stuff that I still wouldn't take on. But just keep my head down, record as and when I feel like it, and it's put me there. So yeah, I could have got 3, 4, 5 guys and girls, a bigger workshop, and do the training, do product lines, do the PPF 2 or 3 years ago.
But what's the ambition? This is the thing. Some people, like me 10, 15 years ago, was driven money, got to make money. That's all it's all about. But now that we're all about the same sort of age.
I thought you were going to say, now we're all poor. That went really bad.
well, there is that. But we're all kind of mid-30s.
Thank you.
We're starting to shut up.
No, thank you.
I thought I was stretching with me. It's
I'm
just
only 24.
my point is, we talk about work-life balance and all the rest of it, but there's more to it than just a work-life balance. What is the point of life? Is it to work? Probably not. Or, I mean, ask me 10 years ago, it was. And otherwise, if you're not economically viable, then you should be executed. But I was quite brutal in those days. But now, I mean, for example, you're off to deepest Wales to go pedalling with Kelly and John, I'm guessing.
Yep.
Now, that's very much a lifestyle thing.
Yeah, it's nice to get them bits in the diary, and you do have to make sure you get them in the diary, otherwise it doesn't happen. The last 10 years, my life has been white details. When I'm on the car, when I'm in the unit, I'm very rarely do respond to emails or messages or WhatsApps or Instagram. My focus during the day is the car.
Yeah.
So then in the evening, I've got that to catch up on. And then if you don't do it that night, because you're editing,
it builds
you've
up.
You've got 2 nights, 3 nights, 4 nights.
But you've got, my point being, is you've got a camper van, which is really cool, by the way. You've got all these sort of things going on. And the question is, if you were to set up, say, the network, the Jim White network, you'd be selling yourself back into the business for another 10 years of really long hours, really high stress, and all the rest of it. What you could do is actually say, no, look, this is what I need to pay the mortgage and to survive and to live. And I don't need to push much more than that, because that's happy and I get me back. So, it's all very well us saying, oh, you could do this, you could do that. But is there any real benefit? I mean, it depends. Unless you are massively driven for,
I just don't know if I'm enough of a... Well, I'm not, otherwise it would have been different already. I'm not a businessman. I sort of fell into detailing back in 2009, having been a weekend warrior. I mean, we've not done the background, but I'm sure people have seen it.
It's in issue 13 of the Pro Detailer magazine.
Started on a Mercedes minibus.
Well, we remembered a Sprinter. That was my
and
first
an Audi
invoice.
A4 Avante van.
It was my workhorse. It was my mobile. So, but it was just my dad suggested, like, give it a go. You've got no restrictions.
What's going to happen?
Yeah, here we are.
That fails, join the army.
And I wouldn't say I haven't looked back. It's been hard growth to get to this sort of point, but possibly there's a good friend of mine actually who I've had in the back of my mind with regards to PPF, and is it something I'd like to do alongside them? They would be coming into the White Details brand, and they'd be there they're very good at dismantling cars, rebuilding cars. They're a car nut. The BMW through and through, and they could take a car apart and put it back together. So to have them, and they're involved currently in upholstery and leather repairs, that sort of stuff, and just don't know where they're at, if they're happy. And it could be something that would be good to do together. I'd still obviously do the detailing side of things, but some of the panels and some of the cars with PPF look like a 2-man job, but there are ways and back rolling abilities to be able to manage on your own. But then if you do have a second person and it's a commitment, you've got to stack the jobs up. You've got to be a conveyor belt which at the minute,
And you've got to keep getting on, particularly if it's a partnership rather than employee-employer. You know, if that breaks down, then you're vulnerable.
yeah.
And then you start writing a magazine with them for ages.
Well, don't feel like you have to make a decision now.
Oh yeah, that one.
That's the one.
So anyway, PPF sounds like it'll be fun, and I'm sure you'll be updating all of your watches and stuff in due course about how that goes.
Yep, of course.
And actually, that kind of leads us quite nicely onto other future plans, because you were saying earlier that you've got kind of ideas. I mean, that you've alluded to, you know, potential partnerships.
It's nothing's, well, perhaps, maybe not, but what do you reckon to, I'm after your opinions here, my own product range. What would you think to that? If I'm not a chemist, I'm not a manufacturer, so it would go down the line of what everybody else has had to, but it would have to be a system that I am entirely confident with, I want to use.
Yeah.
In fact, some of the stuff I'm using now, if I could just pour some of that, add a bit of that to the bottle, and then just have it.
And then there. Well, the answer is there are lots of different ways of doing it. You could Larry Casilla it, for example, which has been very successful for him. You could, for example, partner. You could do with what Rennie Doyle does with PNS and partner for a Rennie Doyle special range. You could do a Jim White special range with a group. You could obviously go to any number of AChem, CarChem, Eurochem, PIP, whatever, you name it, and get them to make products for you. And you
But
just
it has to
basically
be
design
special.
labels.
That's my worry, that it what makes it unique. And it can't just be the fact it's got my face on it.
This is the
It
point.
has to be something that is special.
And it's got to be genuinely developed, and people's got to not just be unique from a chemical formula point of view, but unique when people get it out the bottle.
Yeah.
It's tricky, and I don't know. Again, is it just trying to create a nest egg, long term income? You know, say if you do your back in, you're off for a week. At least you've got products going out the door.
Yeah.
You're covered.
Yeah.
They'd obviously sell.
But my worry is it's being done for the sake of doing it, just for doing it.
Well,
There's
we
a lot
mentioned
out there
Yanavise has
already.
just
Do
released
you think
his
you
as
can
well.
genuinely improve on what's out there in the market now, with a bit more, with a bit of input into the manufacturing?
But the chemistry side of the background of the chemistry, I don't know. Really, I use what I use.
Well, no, but
'cause I
you
like
have
it.
you have the practical usage knowledge, which is what a hell of a lot of the
works and what
manufacturers
doesn't work, yeah.
completely miss out on.
Yeah.
You know, you look
As
at
I
some
say,
of
there's-
the machine manufacturers, a lot of them are designing it from an engineer's point of view rather than somebody who's actually using a machine on a day-to-day basis. Could you have input into machine manufacturing, for example?
Okay.
I'd be inclined to suggest the Jim White edition of, you know, tying up with a
That
brand or two.
sounds so disgusting.
Is it?
It's got a little bit of Jim White in every jar.
Christ. Take that chance for a drink.
Oh, grow up. But yeah, if it was something where you're actually consulting with, because you know you're not a chemist, we know you're not a chemist, so then putting on that, and I'm always a bit cynical of people who put the name to a brand if they're not an actual chemist. But then also I've used stuff that chemists have come up with, and chemists barely know what bloody cars are. And there's one I bumped into him at a show fairly recently, and he makes products for protecting buildings, and he was like, yeah. Obviously I do a lot of detailing, and he didn't have the first clue about it. And now as a chemist, I'm sure he's brilliant. But in terms of, we did this car, again, it was a BMW convertible as it happens. And, you know, we spent a good 2 hours on it and we fully detailed it. And I'm like, okay, you obviously don't know what detailing is if you can fully detail an E36 in 2 hours. Which is the best way around. But Jim White products, I think they would be a nice addition. It's just a matter of who you partner with, because you need a I wouldn't go down the route of going to a generic chemical company and saying, right, give me your shampoo and stick a label on it.
No, I'd say I'm not a businessman. I just do what I do, and I've got that the power behind the channel to be able to. But it has to be something I fully believe in and I am fully using. But I don't want to become a victim to a product to then have to do videos for the sake of selling products.
Yeah.
Equally, I can't polish for the rest of my life. PPF, I'm looking forward to. There may be conversations in the background already happening. So two podcast exclusives, although it depends when this is coming out. People might know about the PPF side of things when this airs.
Well, I'm sure.
So there we go.
I'm sure it'll be good. But yeah, sorry, Ian,
You mentioned your audience is probably one of your biggest strengths there. You can always appeal to them to try and find what is a missing product for them from the market. Maybe that's where it comes in.
Or put together, find the products that you want to use that are already existent, and they could be from a number of different manufacturers, and then do some sort of a deal where you have the Jim White pack that has got, this from company X, that from company Y, and you put it all together and say, look, this is my selection. But then again, with compounds and pads, for example, you can't just have one compound and one pad. That's not going to do you all the time. There are lots of, part of being a detailer is judging what piece of kit you need for specific cars.
Yeah. I think to start with, if it goes ahead, it will be basic maintenance ranges, shampoos, no foam, wheel cleaners, glass. I reckon I could do a good glass cleaner, because there's a lot of glass cleaners out there that people seem to always struggle with. If you were to ask the majority of the population who detail what do you like doing the least, a high chance that the glass is going to be the one thing that people don't like doing.
For me, it's vomit removal.
Vomit. Yeah,
Vomit on glass.
No, vomit on glass is quite easy. It's vomit on spongy seats. That's the
But
difficult.
with my routine and my approach to it, not a problem. Fine. So I'm excited by that as well. It's in the background. It could be something in the next 2 years that happens. So maybe Waxstock 2023. I'll be stuck there on my little desk.
I think the big thing to take away from this is don't take advice from two guys who can barely write 2 magazines a year. We're terrible people to ask business advice from.
So actually, that's a point. Brands. What brands are interesting you at the moment? You know how there are loads out there, new and old. What are there any that are kind of just piquing your interest that you've tried or that you'd like to try, that you're just thinking, oh, these guys are kind of cool? I mean, not to the detriment of any others.
No, I mean, I've been using CarTech a lot for the compounds, the refinish system 3000 and 9000.
Yeah.
It's not a plug, but I've dabbled with that. But there's that much that I'm unaware of that still could be better, that I just don't use because I haven't got time to try.
Yeah.
You've mentioned the Yanamize range a couple of times now, and I've had 2 phone calls from 2 salespeople from the Yanamize production facility saying, we need to get you the full range of Yanamize products for you to use, because naturally it would be great for them to see it on my channel. I'm like, thank you, but it's not me. I can't afford to test products on customers' cars. I haven't got time to test on my own cars. I get a lot of that come through, and equally there are people out there that do it already. So it's thank you for offering, but
Surely the whole reason of Yanamize bringing out a range is because Yanamize can promote it. He's fairly big on social media, I've heard.
Yeah. Interesting to know where that's come from. If that's one of the chemists, that it will be.
Yeah,
it will be.
Yes,
so I might look into that. But go on. Sorry.
Well, no, I mean, and I was just going to make the point actually that your channel is different from a lot of the conventional review channels, and all the better for it. Yeah,
I just head down, headphones on, work, and do a case study and document it from point A to B. I've tried to do how-tos and anything outside that, I'm uncomfortable. Yeah. I just what the audience don't see, but the camera does. It's quite comical sometimes. What I have to sit through in the outtakes, it's most frustrating. So CarTech have been a big one for the last couple of years. Modesta, I've been with them since July 2020. And obviously you can see a bottle over there, the Garage Therapy range.
Yeah.
It's quite a nice, attractive line. I didn't catch the guys at Waxstock.
They were absolutely packed all weekend.
I don't know if it was Maz or
Roger,
thank you. But we made eye contact. We did like a head nod and the hand. Before then I got dragged into another group of people to talk to. So I never made it over to their stand.
Did you do the cheeky wink? Because if you do the cheeky wink, he'll then follow you around for quite a while.
No. Okay. There was a message, I believe, come through on Instagram, which, apologies, chaps, I haven't got back to. But
well, pass it out. I think Maz does listen to us occasionally, so we will. I'm sure it'll be passed on.
It's nice. It's a nice line. I'm using their tyre serum a lot.
Yes. Yeah. Indeed.
So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think it's about time for a little pause, and we'll be back very shortly. I hope you're enjoying the Pro Detailer Magazine podcast. I just want to take a minute to say a massive thank you. Thank you to all those who ordered the hand wash only hardback book. We've printed 3,000, expecting them to sell in dribs and drabs, but lo and behold, they're pretty much all sold out. So the good news is we're able to do a second print run, and that's going to be landing with us towards the end of October 2022. And so if you guys haven't got your copy yet, or would like to perhaps order some for gifts for other people at Christmas, dare I say it this early, then they will soon be available to pre-order at www.prodetailermagazine.com. Anyway, thanks again, and back to the podcast. And we're back. We have been joined by Mr. Jim White, and we've been talking all things PPF, Waxstock, brands, and stuff like that. And I thought it might be time just to wind it back a little bit, because there's something with Jim that you guys, as listeners, might not necessarily know about. You know Jim as the YouTube character, the man in your screens and stuff like that. So you presume he's going to be bold, he's going to be outgoing. He's the one who grabs the microphone on a karaoke station in the pub and starts singing, even when it's not karaoke night. And
Every night's karaoke night.
Is that the impression you get from YouTube?
No, it's not.
Well,
it's not. But you see what I mean. You're definitely forward outgoing. But actually, and this is a really valuable point, because as we were talking about with Waxstock as well, you were pretty damn nervous. I know, because I was right there next to you.
Yeah, both times.
About going on stage. Yeah, and sure, you relaxed once people were talking. You're saying that this year was easier than last year, etc., or the 3 years before. But this is it, is that you are not actually a madly confident, outgoing kind of guy, really.
Not at all. No, it's people sometimes, having spoken to me or met me, say you are exactly like you are on the videos. Mm-hmm. That's because I'm just me. I don't present. I don't put on a voice or a face to do the videos. And as I said earlier, what the camera sees but you don't, there's a lot of outtakes and frustration that is scrapped. Some people say I should give the editing to a media student or someone to do that admin work for me to create the episodes, but I dread for them to get hold of my footage just to see the struggle of what goes on. When we went to the PVD day at Kelly's, and you did a piece for me on my camera, I had to sit through your outtakes and stuff. So
you can see we all make them. I mean, I do a lot of swearing.
Yeah, I limit my swearing on the channel. I am a swearer.
Yeah.
But that's another story. But
I wouldn't worry about your outtakes. Mine would get me into prison. I mean, some of the things that I say.
You did drop the C-bomb on my camera. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I C-bomb daily. Yeah.
No, it's amazing what you're able to create. Now, my friends that know me well they've no idea how and what's happened to White Details and how's Jim built a platform, because that's not Jim. I'm in my own four walls and my own security and control of the camera and where that footage goes. So
it's your green zone, isn't it?
Yeah. I did a piece last weekend on Sunday with industry chap with filming, and I shat my pants. I did not feel comfortable at all.
And when you do that, it also makes the rest of the day really uncomfortable. Yeah.
Good outtakes. But 3 or 4 cameras in my face, and I'm being asked questions, and it's all stuff that I should and do know, but I'm not going with. I'm just best when I'm just ad-libbing about the car.
Yeah.
So to the viewer, I possibly come across as a great presenter and to the point with the car, but I do get messages from people saying, "How do you start on YouTube? How do you sort of get going and get the confidence to sort of produce these?" And I said, well, honestly, if I've been able to get something going and do this, I would like to say that anyone can. There is a bit of a social anxiety from years gone by that I've got, a bit of a barrier and a few walls that pop up occasionally. And it has been known on the vlogs where if I'm not in the mood, I shouldn't film, because that's recognisable. People see that.
Maybe there's an empathy element. Maybe when you got a gobshite like me, people are immediately think, what a twat. Whereas with you, they're much more like, oh, he's kind of somebody I could actually get on with, if you see what I mean.
He needs to smile a bit more, but...
Yeah, well, there is that. But you smile too much, and people think it's creepy, apparently, I'm told. I was at a wedding recently, and I was told to smile more, so I went around smiling everywhere, and somebody genuinely thought I had learning difficulties. I mean, I do, but not that severe. And so, no, I think it's a really important message, that is that just because, and I have this when I ask people if they want to come on film when we're doing the shot interviews and stuff like that, a lot of people shy away. No. And I'm like, I know you can do it.
Yep.
You know, it's a matter of confidence. And the problem you get is, so I talk about this a fair bit, but there's a relationship between competence and confidence. And confidence without competence is arrogance. But if you've got the competence to back up the confidence, then it's not arrogance, and it works really nicely. So I know that's unnecessarily complicated, but this is the thing, is that if you know what you're doing and it's just confidence that's holding you back, confidence is kind of an illusion. It's something you can create. It's something you can do. So anybody can. You just got to push yourself to do it. And I think in this modern world where we're monocoddled so much, you know, we don't have to push ourselves. I was thinking about what it was with recent celebrations, or not celebrations, but kind of, I don't know, but remembrance and all the rest of it of World War One, when we were all forced, conscripted to go and basically, you know, carry it in the trenches. And I was thinking, actually, how on earth would our modern generation, and we've grown up with central heating, we weren't beaten that much as children, there's, you know, we haven't had starvation and famine all that often, as you can tell, and for us to have to go and do something that serious, how can we possibly conceive that in our headspace? And going to war is an extreme example that actually, obviously, many people still have to go through, both here but more abroad. And so this is it, is a confidence. Is if people can do that, if people can go to the trenches in northern France 100 years ago, why the hell can't we stand in front of a camera and just talk or do whatever we do? And I do think we need to, in this world, figure out how to push ourselves more, because if we don't, we all end up as boring mediocrity, and so what's the point?
Yeah, sure. It took me a while, and I still have my frustrations now. I've just finished a mineral grade M4 this week, and one thing with YouTube, as you probably know, it's delivering content, it's feeding the fire, it's keeping it constant. But this week, going into a busy week, next week I'm filming again. It gets monotonous. It's a bit samey for me sometimes. So this week I've just done the filming without the talking, and that to the audience isn't normal. I guess they'll be sort of expecting me at some point to turn to the camera to say, hello, good afternoon, welcome to What He Tells Them. But it's just nice to have a clear head and not have to worry about storytelling.
You could just go, I've lost my voice, so it's going to be music.
People ask for advice and tips on how to get the views on the channel and stuff, but it's not something that happens sort of overnight. You have to get over that barrier of you have to look through the lens and talk and just sort of pretend it's another person, I guess. But when I first did my first episode, it went out to an Instagram audience of, I think, 6,000, 7,000 organically already. So if I was starting out and if I was 2 years into detailing now, without the platform behind me to generate content to say, what do you think to this? It is difficult to get the traction. And I don't know the YouTube algorithms, but if anything, my videos are really quite small. I haven't had 1 million+ episode yet with the views, and it's just...
it's consistency, though. It's providing what people want. And the nice thing is that when you go onto your channel, for example, I know what I'm going to see. And it is, there are a certain number of people who want to see that. They don't want to have in-your-face reviews. They don't want to have, the sort of podcast or interview thing like we do. They just want to see this kind of project going through. And Ian can always remember the acronym for this. What's that thing about watching things that makes you feel relaxed?
ASMR.
That's the one. There is an ASMR element to your videos, which is lacking in, say, for example, in John's, in Forensic, that doesn't relax you. That's,
teaching, it's education,
it's engaging.
That's the stuff that I can't do.
Yeah.
There's enough people doing a good job of that already.
So why compete? Yeah. You've got your niche and it works. So I think, for anyone starting out on YouTube, it's not just about kind of playing the algorithms and make sure you've got the keywords and having your flashy titles and the cover photo. It's just consistently putting out stuff people want to watch. Yeah. My favorite of all time YouTube is Donut Media, and they're everything you need to know about a particular car, the history of a particular model. And for me, that suits me. I can watch it any time, and I think that's the same with your videos, is that people like it. So don't change the formula.
No.
Well, obviously, unless you do want to have a day without having to talk to camera the whole time. It's an interesting one, but we shall continue. And so that's just an important thing about confidence. But speaking of confidence, you have got yourself a new motor car. And I know on this podcast, we used to do a motoring section because, in fact, I bought a new car too, which we haven't talked about. And it wasn't necessarily that popular. Ian's about to put on a sound effect. Yeah.
Sorry, what wasn't popular section on your cars?
So this is different. This is talking about Jim's car. Now, Jim, you have bought yourself a Jaguar.
I have a Jaaaaag, second Jaaaaag. Yeah, this is the daily. I had a Polaris White XKR, which is the nice engine, 5 litre supercharged, which I came to the wax stock when I was on stage in. Bit of a toy, bit of a beast. But I'm into an XFS Sport Brake portfolio in Italian racing red.
Which is, first of all, a really good looking car just as a shape. And then that red is pretty gorgeous.
It needs a lot of work. It's featured on the channel already, and I hate to disappoint if you haven't seen any updates by the time this comes out. I am bored of the car. It's not me. I've done this twice now. I bought a V60 R Design Polestar Volvo. Clue should have been maybe in the name, coming from a BMW, and I've done it again. The Jag looks great. It's a fancy colour. I wanted a splash of colour back in my life, but I've done 1,700 miles, and it's just boring. It's dull.
It's interesting. I mean, 1,700 isn't that many miles.
It's enough.
I do that in a week sometimes.
Yeah, it's enough. The BM has that sort of connection in rear drive, which the Jag is, but I'm just going to stay BMW.
Well, the BMW does bill itself more as the driver's car. The Jag is more of the kind of cruiser car, isn't it? I suppose.
Generally, when you own one of those wagon Jags, you are a sort of a plant hire manager. So you've got your pair of riggers in the back and your fluorescent vest and your white hat that you occasionally take out when you've got to go out on site and see one of your clients. But apart from that,
it's a great engine, but it just doesn't give you that feedback because it's so refined and smooth and quiet.
And it's auto.
It's an auto.
Yeah.
And the box isn't great. It makes
and it's a V6, isn't it? Not a straight six like a Beamer.
Yeah. But it has potential. It needs a lot of work. In the episode I put up of the car, the first washing, you can clearly see it was unloved. And this was a car I bought privately from a cherished ownership, and it was this pride and joy, and it was garage, and it was this and it was that, and it was growing. It was green everywhere.
But mechanically, it's okay.
Mechanically,
it was garage.
Yeah.
Well,
so I've seen the photo of the side. Was the garage too small for the car?
To squeeze it in physically.
The swirls aside, it was just it had its own allotment in the rubbers because it was just green everywhere. But
well, if you can find a good detailer, I'm sure you could spin it on for a bit of a profit.
Now, but it's the bumpers that need repainting, it's the tailgate that needs repainting, it's the wheel refurbishment. So, as I am at the minute, I could get it to my standard, but that is a big mountain to climb. When I'd rather probably spend that time on a customs car. And I'm inundated with work. I'm fully booked till the last week in October currently. So yeah, I just think
if you're listening to this in October, it's more of a he's got a lot of work ahead of him. It's not.
But there's to turn that around to get it to a level where I'd be happy when I'm not enjoying it too much already. It is already for sale,
and it becomes a chore as well, doesn't it?
It does. I'm doing it when I don't.
Are you going to
heart in it?
That's the reason we've got an MG and a Renault sitting in a car park. Yeah, we had our fun with it, but oh god, I can't be bothered.
Sat there rationing euros for a holiday. We've got a couple grand sitting on the driveway that we can't shift. The car is for sale at the moment. Now, when this comes out, it will hopefully have sold. Yes. So there's no point really doing a plug for it. Are you going to make a little turn on it, or is it just getting rid?
I think I bought it well. I don't know. If you saw the episode, you'd have seen my first impressions. My heart says no, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. So I was disappointed. I travelled 2 hours down to go and see it, and I shook the guy's hand, thanked him for his time, said, Andy, honestly, it's not for me. It just needed too much more doing that I didn't know about. But then he liked the idea of the car going to me. He knew who I was through work, and he knew that the car would be sort of looked after and cherished, something that he hadn't done much of. And then we did a deal. We talked money. So I feel for a 2014 car with only 50,000 miles, it's a lot of car for the money. I think it will suit you, Bert, quite nicely. Really.
It's way too modern and reliable for me. I do like a wafter.
It does make a nice noise, actually, compared to my 3 Series.
For a diesel?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not in it, sadly, here to take you out in it to show you, but...
Well, look, my budget for any car, which has been demonstrated over and over, is about 1,500 quid. So if we can do a deal, then I'll very happily do that.
Zero on it.
Well, no, we can't do that. No.
Oh, I didn't say where.
Yeah, which side of the decimal point?
15p. Yeah, it's for sale, but I'm eyeing up Marketplace, Auto Trader and eBay for a 3 Series. Again, 330 or 335D.
Or you could decal it up and have a fire engine car. Just saying.
Good.
Hose in the back,
Thanks.
blue lights on the top.
Actually, I have seen a fast response fire car. You know, the ones they still have blue lights and everything. Which
What,
was
McLaren?
No, which one? No, that's a fast car on fire.
Fast
That's
response
different.
car on fire.
That's a pace car.
You're seeing Kelly soon, aren't you? Ask
Yeah.
him if his car's on fire.
Okay.
No, he sold that.
That went a long time ago.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't got any interest
I think
in
he
cars.
told me not to buy the Jaaaaag. He knew, and I secretly knew as well. But I'd fancy.
He'd probably get you to buy a Caddy with 105 horsepower, and then spend like millions of
with the
pounds.
original engine. He's done on the big brakes, suspension, full respray, full PPF.
It makes me sick. His brakes are gorgeous, and they need to be on a car that needs them. But anyway, let's not talk about Kelly. You'll get overexcited, and I'll get WhatsApp messages. So that was the car chat. But I wanted to draw out the car chat a little bit, and I wanted to, because Ian and I spend a lot of time in a confined space, normally a car. And we talk about all sorts of stuff occasionally. But one thing we do talk about is cars. So I just want to do a kind of ad-lib car-based thing.
Right.
Okay.
It's great because I love doing ad lib stuff. It's fantastic.
Yeah, okay.
Being called out on the spot for things.
Okay, so first question then is favourite German car manufacturer?
Porsche.
Oh, bugger. Porsche or BM.
Okay, well,
They're my two brands now. Forever and more, a BM will be my daily. And then if I have the space and the money, a Porsche for a toy.
interesting.
The
Okay.
garage currently in my unit, as I am now, it's got the M4, which we just finished.
Yeah.
And then the Lava Orange GT3 RS 991.1. So that's a nice two-car garage.
Okay,
BM
I'm going to ask you a BMW question because you obviously qualified to answer it. Which generation of 3 Series is the best?
Well, I've just said that my F31, the F30 series, was probably been the best car I've had as an all-rounder. So F30.
Okay, well, I'm an E90 because I like the V8 and I like it in the
That's
four-door
three- yeah.
saloon. That's for me. Ian?
E30.
Classic.
I've had a, yeah.
You know they're going to go wrong, but you don't care because it's cool.
They're not that quick, though.
No.
But still, yeah, I just like the V81. It's interesting. Okay, favourite Ferrari ever?
Oh, that is on the spot. I'm not a Ferrari man.
You see, well, you've
I'm
got the
honest.
specials. You've got the GTOs. The 288 GTO runs it very close for me. That thing's mental. Obviously, you've got F40, but the F50 in many ways is more...
I've worked on an F50.
Yeah, they're kind of
years
more
back.
accomplished technically. It really is an F1 car with a body on top, whereas the F40's sort of mad
You offset
80s.
diagonally. The pedal box is well offset to this. Maybe that is like a hypercar, supercar trait. I think it is to a
Maybe,
degree,
yeah.
isn't it?
Slash, well, also Italian cars are always offset when they're turned right-hand drive. They're kind of resentful at making them right-hand drive.
A classic I sort of grew up with on the poster wall was a 355.
Yep.
So they're still a very pretty car.
Okay, would you have the T-top, the convertible, the Berlinetta, or the hardtop, which has also got a name? No, is the Berlinetta is the hardtop, isn't it?
Hardtop,
What's
well,
the
coupe.
Spider?
Spider.
And then
It's
the,
just them two, isn't it?
no, there's a T-top one. Clarkson had a T-top. Is it called a Targa, or it had a funny name? But anyway,
Bar.
T-bar. Or was that an MR2? They're very
Which
different
could be a
things.
355 rebodied.
Yeah, yes. Good point. Yeah, no, I think that is, I'm not a big fan of convertibles because it means people see my face, which is bad for them and bad for me. But the 355 convertible with the roof down is gorgeous.
Yeah. There was an old yellow something Ferrari followed me off the roundabout earlier on the way here, actually. Couldn't tell you what it was. I haven't got much Ferrari knowledge, to be honest.
So if it was going to be something usable, it would be something relatively boring like California. But if I like weird cars, so I'd go for something like was it the 400 with the shooting
Damn it,
brake?
you've stolen my choice. Yeah,
It is the shooting brake. It's weird. It's cool.
Well, no, and so they did the 400, the 400i, the 412i, which was that saloon,
Yeah.
3-box saloon style, but it was a coupe. Bloody love those cars. Bloody love them. And it was
can't
like
picture
5 point something, little tiny square headlights. There's your Telio phone. You start Googling. They might well have done a shooting brake of that.
So I'm sure I saw a shooting brake fit at the Bristol Italian.
Yeah, I think
car
that'd be a one-off, like the Lynx Jaguar XJS
Yeah.
wagons and shooting brakes and stuff like that. So, but no, the 400 is cool. In which case, I'm going to have to follow on and go for a 456. You don't have any reception, do you?
There's no service.
No, but 456 V12, and they did a manual. And a
Haven't
really,
they got an SUV coming out? Ferrari.
they
Yeah.
do, but
It's a long double barrel name. I can't pronounce it.
I'm not interested in
I
that.
don't do SVRs or fast Urus. Anything big and SUV. I like a Range Rover.
LM002, Lamborghini's mental military sort of Humvee H1 take with a Countach V12 in. I don't fit in it. It's too small, but I freaking cool though.
Tell you what, the funniest thing about, well, for me, was when because we did the UK launch for the Urus.
Yes.
And they had a couple of classic Lambos, and one of them was an LMW02, which had got into this, who was it, the RHS hall in London. And they decided about 3 or 4 hours before the big unveil started that we're actually going to have all the cars out on the streets, so people would know where to go because, Lamborghini's
Makes
out
sense.
there.
Yeah.
So they loaded this LMW02 back into this service elevator they had, managed to snap off the side mirror, and then frantically phone around all the Lamborghini dealerships. Has anyone got a LMW02 anywhere sitting in the unit that we can nick the mirror off? So someone ends up having to courier over a mirror and got fitted on the side of a street in London just so it all looked nice and perfect. That was an awesome event though. That Skin from Skunk and Nancy doing the DJing.
I remember you going off to that, and I didn't get an invite. Okay, last question then. Favorite Peugeot of all time? Shut up, Ian. You've got a Peugeot.
Okay. I had a 106 XSI.
Lovely.
Friends had the 205, 16 and 19 GTI.
Nice.
They were pretty cars. What's the Pikes Peak? 405?
405, yeah.
They were heavy into motorsport early. So
And they're the 306 Maxi as well.
There we go. I used to be into my RC cars.
And you had the Tamiya 306
306 Rally.
FF02 chassis. I used to have that same thing. I put a Subaru. No, I put an Alfa
Facts.
Romeo Giulia body on it.
I have a picture of a very young Jim White in a lime green Adidas jumper on the trackside, maintaining or repairing my 306 Rally, which I'll send to you, because that was years and years ago.
That's brilliant. God, we even have the same Tamiya. That's bizarre. Yes. So you're going for 306 Maxi.
Peugeot. No, 205 on MI16 throttle bodies.
So a 205 with the MI16 conversion in.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going for
The
306
Rally as well.
They were cool.
The Series 2.
With the Steelies, white with Steelies. Yeah.
There's only 3 colours, the white, the blue, and the red.
Yep.
Was it flat colours? I did put the Rally 1.6 inlet manifold on my 1.4 XSI, because that was a thing that
was
we
done,
do,
yeah.
but it didn't idle very well.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Maybe it's because I did it. It's very clean.
Yeah, I think you need to, because that's on carbs, isn't it still? Was it? No, it'd be injection. I'm just trying to think how you tune it.
I did win a photography competition with the 106. There we go.
That's
I know
cool.
you're a man who likes his photography.
I like my ding-dongs, yeah. I do indeed. Well, for me, I'm torn between a 405 MI16, a 309 GTI,
Yeah.
but I settled for a 306 GTI 6. Reason being, I had the 306. I had 2 HDI D Sports, which looked like a GTI 6, but weren't. They had the Cyclone 15-inch wheels. They had quite a lot of the body kit and all the rest of it. And there was both phase 3 cars with crystal lights. But I really, 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 really wanted a GTI 6. Couldn't afford to insure at the time. And now I'm too fat to drive a 306. I had to drive a 306 fairly recently, and I can't even remember why. But I thought, because I put on like 120,000 miles into mine before it met a sticky end. And I don't understand how I did that, because they were so utterly small and uncomfortable for somebody of my proportion now. It's just tragic. So I'd have to somehow custom fabricate a slightly wider, slightly taller, slightly longer 306.
Wide boy.
Yeah, with a dimmer kit on possibly, just
dimmer,
for, full chav appeal.
Going to fast car days, aren't we?
Yeah. Ian by now has had enough time to think up a witty sort of anti-Peugeot quip, I suspect. So what's your favourite Peugeot?
Well, NSUs. Let's talk NSU for a while. 'Cause
Well, I do like a Row 80.
no, honestly, I had a 306 for years.
You
and
hated it.
I hated the gearbox on it. It's
I
horrible.
drove your 306 briefly, and it wasn't
We had
terrible.
that as a family car since new.
Yeah.
And I absolutely detested the damn thing.
Yeah. But that's more to do with your family issues in the car.
It would be something like a 205, but the prices are insane for what they are now.
Yeah. Well, the 308 GTI is quite nice.
No, not 308.
It's 1.6.
I did drive the 208E, E208, whichever way around it is.
Yeah.
The new one. They're really cool, but again, the price way above where they should be.
What do
for
you?
what you get in there? I mean, we've got a 308 at the moment.
Yours is a good-looking car.
Yeah, it's nice enough. It's 1.2.
but turboed.
Well, yeah, but everything's turboed now. I think
So
my
check out my
Toaster's got a
driveway.
turbo on it now.
I don't have any turbos in my driveway.
You do currently.
I do, and actually thinking about it, my latest car is also a turbo, but it's
I've
cheating.
got a Peugeot engine in the van, I suppose.
Yeah,
HDI.
HDI 3 litre V6, 24. Not 24 valve, is it?
No.
It's 12 valve.
I tell you what, I used to be in catering, and
Was it a catering room?
you used to be able to get these really high class, high component pepper mills made by Peugeot.
Yes, that's your favourite Peugeot.
That's definitely what I go for.
Pepper mill
Peugeot
Peugeot.
pepper mill.
I
There you
was
go.
about to say, yeah, I've got one of them too, and because they also made bicycles. Okay, well that was the
Oh, I
last
didn't even
question.
think of the bicycle. Yeah.
Yeah, I've
No,
never
I'll
seen.
stick with pepper mill for now.
I've
Too
never
late to change.
Never seen you on a bicycle. So that is our automotive thing. We could do this for hours. So the question is, listeners, I was going to say readers, but listeners, let us know if you'd like to hear old men
Subtitling.
talk about. It's true. Talk about cars, because I could, as I say, do that forever and ever. And whether it's actually interesting or whether you've already switched off and are now listening to, I don't know.
See, now you're getting into dangerous territory asking for feedback, which we religiously avoided on this for fear of what people actually think of it.
No, you and I have different opinions on feedback. So I like to listen to people, and you tell them in the nicest possible way to bugger off. But that's just because we're different.
Hey, everyone's
characters.
entitled to an opinion, just as entitled to ignore it.
Yes. Well, I mean, yeah. No, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. And in terms of cars, one final point before we get onto the quick 10. I've done a thing which is entirely against my nature. You can ask me.
We could, and yet you're still going to tell us.
No, okay then. Well. Anyway, doesn't matter. The fact I've got a 3-cylinder, 6-valve, turbocharged Audi A2 diesel, but I'm getting a genuine 78 miles a gallon. 78 miles a gallon, and this thing's light. It's like 870 kilos. So even with me in, it's under a ton, which is kind of cool. And I've done
Because it's
unusual
all
shape, isn't it, the
it's
A2?
all aluminium
weird.
space frame,
It
isn't
is.
it? Yeah, because
And-
I saw the bare frame of that at PS Spiker, like hanging up on a fishing scale from the roof.
About to say it's something like 40 kilos, I think.
It's basically a
frame.
D2 underneath, isn't it?
I wouldn't say quite that. I mean,
It's same body base, just
Yeah.
stretched a bit more.
it is. Yeah,
Where yours goes bolt pin, and then they just add a little bit on the front and back.
there's a bit of that. The build is a little bit too Volkswagen for my like. It's not
On
proper.
which?
Huh?
On which one?
On the A2. On the A2. But anyway, I'm no longer murdering polar bears every time I go anywhere, which is pretty good. Well, for them anyway.
If you're going to crash into Bristol Zoo,
To be fair, if I hit it in the A2, I think the polar bear would come off better. So, and yeah. 10 questions. Now, you have listened to this before, Jim, so you know roughly what's coming up, but I haven't actually pre-briefed you, which I normally do with people.
you also
I thought it
haven't
was
written them
6
down, have
questions.
you?
Where's the other 4 come from? Has it always been 10?
Yeah, although I'm looking
You
here.
start to lose count after a while, don't
Yeah,
you, to be
it
fair?
is. It is indeed. But just in case, I've changed them all for you now.
Okay.
No, I haven't. What's your current car,
The Jaaaaag.
which we've just
Sale
talked about?
to be replaced with a 3 Series.
Your dream car is...
Oh, I didn't know these would come. Dream car. I think we just touched feet then, sorry.
I know.
Footsie under the table.
just nudged you. Hey, dream
wasn't
car.
a hint or
Why
a
did you have to
help.
wink at him? That was weird.
Ouch. Dream car.
It doesn't have to be a hypercar or something
No,
silly
it's
with
gonna be
2
something
doors. It could be
normal.
like
It's
a
gonna
legacy
be,
S402 if you wanted.
I do like the 992 generation Carreras, the
Okay.
Porsche. It's got to be a Porsche of some sort.
Yep.
A decent garage currently would be the GT4 is pretty. I finished a Viola metallic purple GT4 before Christmas. That would be a nice toy.
Isn't that a Cayman? Or is that a
Yes.
911? Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
Cayman, yeah.
They came in GT4 RS now as well.
Oh.
But and then I quite like Alpina
I do too.
off the back of the BMW thing, like a D3, a big touring, practical.
Okay.
But
That kind of answers the question. A bit round the blocks. But
Yeah.
what's the first car, and I think we know this from your interview, what's the first car you ever detailed?
the first car I put machine polisher to
Yeah.
was a main blue Audi A3 Sport when I first imported the porter cable 7424.
With the
Although
transformer.
maybe before then I had the rotary on the go. So, but my first official invoice for white details 001 was a Mercedes Sprinter minibus, 16-seater minibus.
God, jumping in at the deep end there.
Yeah.
So, personal question here. How many buckets?
5 or 6.
Ooh, tell
What's
us.
the most someone's answered before?
I think probably 3, and the most I've ever seen before was a piss take video that Mark Doherty over at Autoglim did, where he was taking the piss out of all people. Okay, 5.
2 buckets for your wash. You've got a third bucket for the wheels. That's 3. I've got my spurring bucket inside for spurring the pads into the airline. I've got the wet bucket side, so that dust hopefully sticks to the bucket. So that's 4. 5th would be the Lake Country bucket pad washer. Little plug there. And then I'll reuse the 3rd bucket, which is a wheel bucket for doing interiors, so a rinse bucket for interiors.
You use your wheel bucket for
Basically,
interiors?
it's rinsed out.
Okay.
Just like a bit of a rinse bucket.
Well, I mean, you've out bucketed everybody we've had on since. You've your top bucket, top work,
Top bucket.
top bucket. Interesting question here: rotary or DA?
DA.
Do you want to expand on that?
Started on a rotary, Kestrel Sim 180, a Chicago pneumatic, and then a Makita 99778 CB, was it, or something? Back in the day.
If it was engine codes, I'd be able to help you there. But on
big
old school
heavy
rotaries,
Makitas,
yeah.
And there's the Metabow as well. But it would be interesting for me to do a detail with a rotary again to see if I've still got it, because I haven't put one up for years.
Well, I remember at Waxstore you didn't want to talk about rotaries. It was just like, look, DA is what I use. I would really like to focus on DAs because you're yeah. Yeah, because I said, let's talk about rotary. Yeah, I said rotary polishing. You said, no, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about other things, sort of thing. Because it was, are you a Rupes man or are you a Flex man?
Remember that? Rupes, Bigfoot. I've got one away for repairs currently. So I've got the 75 3-inch,
Yep.
the 15, the 21, the Duetto.
Have you seen the new HLR 75?
Funny looking thing, isn't it?
It's
like a claw. I thought initially...
for the benefit of the tape, he's doing a sort of thing.
I was confused at first because I thought that maybe like because it's titled the hybrid something. It has
it's
the word
part of the hybrid
in the
family.
title.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at that thinking that can't be used for intricate, inaccessible areas like the hybrid or a nano polisher of 1 inch can. I'm thinking it is for that purpose, but it's not. It's a portable 3-inch polisher.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah,
I can see its place.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's essentially the LHR 75 equivalent, isn't it?
Yeah. I held it at wax stock. Whether or not I'll pick one up, probably not. I've got 2 75s already, as it is. But it is nice having the cordless. I get so frustrated with behind me a massive mess of wires and tangled cables on the extensions. That's the pain.
Yeah. But of course, Flex have got all the full range powered ones already, which a lot of people like too. It's interesting. Another deep and meaningful question: coating or wax? For cars. Yep.
Sponsored by Manscaped. Yeah, it's got to be coatings. I haven't waxed the car. The last car I waxed was a Top Rot Red BMW Z1.
Top Rot, is that an official colour?
Top Rot Red. Yeah, flat red. And the Z1 with the doors that went down into the sill.
Oh, Z1, yeah. No, I know Z1. In fact, I saw one a couple of days ago over at China Gloss.
Really?
Cav's playing with one. They're worth a lot of money now. It's
It is.
55, 65
I've prepped
grand.
the car a few times. The last time I prepped it was years ago, but he likes to wax the car himself, and it's a show car, basically. So it was a top-up of the wax we used at the time. But at the minute, it's just Modesta. It's BC04, BC08, ceramics.
Keen. Again, I think we're going to know the answer to this question. Ferrari or Porsche?
Porsche.
Much more important question.
Oh.
Subaru or Mitsubishi?
I have very little experience with either, but years ago on Dirt Rally, I held the world record fastest time in a Subaru around a Welsh rally stage in a Subaru. And that was on the records for about 2 weeks, I think.
Wow.
In a simulator.
You see,
So there we go.
You wouldn't have done
So I'm
that in a
gonna say
Mitsubishi.
Subaru.
Yeah, Subaru. Good man. Correct choice. Awesome. We're going to have to pick up some pig feed later
Also,
on
I'm
today.
being blocked in by one on the driveway, so if anything say that, I won't be able to leave this afternoon.
So I've already asked a question kind of indirectly, Flex or Rupes?
Repairs.
And then final question, and one that engenders sort of conversation sometimes. A Sunday drive or a Sunday detail?
It would be a Sunday drive. But more
Everybody says
recently,
so.
it'll be a Sunday drive to a fishing pond or a golf course.
Or a mountain biking mountain?
Or doing what I'm doing this weekend, yeah.
I do wonder if we have to start caveating this question with, if you haven't already been detailing all week beforehand, is it a Sunday drive or a Sunday detail? Because otherwise every single detailer is just going to, well, no, I don't want to do that again for another day on a Sunday.
Especially not the Jaaaaag.
The weird thing is I'm the odd one out because I don't get to do any detailing during the week because I'm running around doing office work and stuff like that. Is actually, if I do get a weekend to myself, if Mrs. is off playing with dogs or something, I do then go and
Get
actually
your tackle out and
wash
do
my
some-
car. Yeah,
When I say tackle your buckets,
I appreciate that.
your chamois.
My tackle hasn't come out in that respect for months. So no, I think that's a fair response. I think that's good. That's cool. Well, it leaves me to say, Jim, thank you very much for coming all the way down from Lincolnshire. I went super West Country there because
did.
I didn't want to do a piss take Northern accent
you
because
for
then
having me.
I'd get lynched. And enjoy your cycling. Don't fall off and break anything.
No.
Don't
That
let
would
John
ruin
Hull beat you again.
PPF training, wouldn't it? Can't make it. Collarbones knackered.
Can you apply PPF with one working hand?
Someone can, I'm sure.
See, I'm surprised your dream car you didn't go somewhere like a Winnebago, because then you can just put the bike in there.
I could be a mobile PPF installer, couldn't
Yeah?
I? Yeah, get myself a...
Nomadic PPF. It's a good business name, that is.
I spent about
yeah,
2
get
years
myself
living
a
at
dog
service
and get
stations.
Back the dogs again here.
Yeah, I spent a couple of years living at service stations, travelling salesperson. Life on the road is actually pretty shit, to be honest. It's too long. There's something nice about central heating and running water.
Didn't you live in your 306 though?
I did. There are some nights when I ran out of budget for hotels, so I had to stay in the 306.
So that's going to be depressing right there.
It is, but nobody broke into it while I was there.
Who would?
It did get broken into in Bristol, but that says more about Bristol.
I can't say that's a low bar.
Cool. Okay. Before we rattle on, as I say, Jim, thank you very much, and safe journeys. And we will be back very soon on the channel. Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Bye-bye.